My topic for the final was Edmonia Lewis and biracial identity. So background on Edmonia Lewis. She was born in 1843 and passed in 1909. She was born to a native Chippewa mother and an African-American father, presumed Haitian, I believe. She was orphaned at a young age and raised within the tribe and received only a few years of formal schooling before she was accepted to Oberlin College in Boston, where she started her artistic pursuits. She was expelled after several incidents and accused of poisoning a fellow student and stealing as well. She is the first recorded and popularized African-American and Native American sculptor. So I just wanted to start with some of her more popular works. This one is called Forever Free, which was created in 1867, and it was created 4 years following the Emancipation Proclamation. There's a lot of controversy then and now surrounding this piece. Some people have pointed out that the woman, presumed to be African given the subject matter, she has very European features, including her hair, which is very straight and flowy. And some people also believe that the man is condescendingly placing his hand on her shoulder. Other people believe it's more of a protective manner. But regardless, his elevated status kind of makes it seem like he's in a position of power. So a lot of the critique is that even though Lewis was constantly breaking out of gender roles and a very empowered woman, people believe that she was kind of reinforcing gender stereotypes for newly freed slaves in this piece. Some people even went so far as to claim that this is proving that Black women would not be freed truly until Black men established a patriarchy within themselves. Another one of her popular works from 1876 is The Death of Cleopatra, which was created for exhibition at the World's Fair in Philadelphia. It's depicting Cleopatra, Queen Cleopatra of Egypt, at the moment of her death by suicide, where she poisoned herself in light of her empire being conquered. So this piece truly highlights Egyptomania, as it was called, and how many Americans view different cultures as a sort of spectacle for their own entertainment. The reading that I did said that interactions with other cultures was considered like a sort of novelty among the fairgoers, and seeing exotic people was almost as important as the actual attractions within the fair themselves. This makes me think of William Sidney Mount's use of Black people as entertainers in his own art, typically musicians, and I feel like it really reinforces the fact that these elevated so-called white people really viewed different cultures as just a sort of prop for their own entertainment and just all that kind of stuff. She received a lot of criticism, mostly personal, not so much about her work. So she was claimed to have been raised by a savage Chippewa family in the wilderness of New York. She was called uneducated and was said that she was blessed with a white man knowledge when she was accepted to Oberlin. They said that she couldn't experience personal creative thought, only mimic things that she saw in art form. They thought she was dangerous as well, probably because of that led to her expulsion. I'm sure that has nothing to do with it. This was during, the Civil War time that she was active as an artist, and, women were prescribed rigid gender roles, and art was believed to be an intellectual pursuit that only white men were capable of. So she received a lot of flack, considering not only that she was a woman, but a person of color. She was an incredible saleswoman, though. Throughout her lifetime, she was very manipulative with her words and her personality. She let people think what they wanted to, and she did little to set the record straight when they came up with these ridiculous claims about her past and her expulsion and such. She was known to change the facts of her life story depending on the audience that she was talking to, and she knew what would and wouldn't sell. So a lot of people say that we must take this into consideration with everything we think about her or we think we know about her. It could be completely false. It could be something she had fabricated just to like get people to be interested in her life and her work. She was quoted as saying, "Some praise me because I am a colored girl and I don't want that. I would rather you point out my defects, for that will teach me something." This quote shows how she is more interested in genuine criticism for her art and not personal inquiry, which is kind of sad in a way, considering how much like flack she received for her person and not for her work. So much of the details of her life and work is lost to time, unfortunately. So her life, for the most part, was spent in Rome, and this was due to the fact that she was fathered by a black man. The Chippewa people denied her native personage after she left originally. She was known to move from one community to the next, and on the outskirts of inclusion, she was believed to have belonged nowhere, really. She didn't necessarily fit in with the white people, and the freed black people were, she wasn't totally black, and she didn't belong with the natives either. So she recognized that within the United States, she would likely always be examined for her race before anything else. So this led her to Rome, which was a safe haven for American artists. And she rarely returned to the United States after this, outside of when she had to come back to exhibit or to sell her work. So this is important to note because not only did her biracial identity inform her work in physical ways, like how she felt compelled to create works like Forever Free, but it also forced itself upon her career decisions, like leaving home, just because she felt like she didn't belong in the United States. So we have seen throughout the whole class how much the country emphasized race then, considering the Civil War and such, and also now. It's possible that Lewis was a victim of a somewhat newly discovered phenomenon that they have been calling the biracial identity crisis, which is defined as the feeling that biracial people have when they are unable to fully integrate with either or any of the cultures that they, quote, technically belong to. They fall short of the societal, physical, cultural, and or familial expectations of them and of the race that they belong to. This is symptomatic of living in a society like the United States that puts so much emphasis on race. And it's a condition that would have been, more prevalent in light of everything that was going on and emancipation and such. Despite this, Lewis was still able to make her own success and fame, which is pretty incredible considering that, these kind of mental health and, breakthroughs, so to speak, they wouldn't be even thought about until much later down the line, especially since this is something that pertains to people who are not completely white. In conclusion, it is important to emphasize artists of color from this time period, not just because of their color, but because of their contributions to history and to art, like David Drake and Coffee and Prince Demma, and how they were, not necessarily considered. There's debate if they're considered artists because they were not necessarily making on their own accord, but making as slaves, or like even the Black Horse Ledger, which was not considered art and was considered a prop to control the narrative about Native Americans. Work by people of color in this country's history has long taken a backseat to the work of these racist colonizers simply because these colonizers were white and they were given unique opportunities and attention because of that. We as modern historians have the opportunity to reclaim history for those who have had it erased for them. Lewis experienced prejudice, but her skills still triumphed, and that is what should be known. You can contrast the work of Lewis to those of St. Gaudens, who a known racist, so to speak. The personage of the artist is important to consider when thinking about the piece. So I didn't have a picture, but Lewis did a small bust of Shaw herself, and it's much less extravagant than St. Gaudens' memorial for Shaw, but given the notes that we heard about how he felt about people of color, it's just interesting how much more emphasized that is in history rather than the work of Lewis. I feel like I had not heard of her at all before now, so it's just we have to take the time to emphasize how important these contributions are, in addition to the contributions of the privileged white upper class.